Let me ask you, then of course I want to get to your book, because what you write is important. Again, his book, by the way, Matt Ridley's book, is up at DennisPrager.com. It's pretty important, How Innovation Works and Why It Flourishes in Freedom. I can't imagine it flourishing in non-freedom, but I'll talk to you about that in a moment. What are your thoughts on the lockdown in UK?
I think we're making a mistake. I think we're prolonging the lockdown too long, and I suspect the original policy may have been a mistake. Now that we know more about the virus and how it spreads and how it has particularly been a problem within the hospital and care home system, it seems to me that the key priority was to keep it out of the hospitals, whereas in fact the measures we took made sure that it got into the hospitals and care homes, so we allowed too much freedom for the virus in the hospitals, but then we locked everybody down at home where they weren't so much at risk. And actually, the relatively voluntary measures, which is with a certain amount of coercion, banning large gatherings, stopping quite a lot of travel, and generally telling people to wash their hands and keep a safe distance would have been enough, I think. On top of that, to tell people to give up their work and stay at home was probably unnecessary and very damaging to the economy.
Has your economy been as damaged as ours?
I would say our economy has definitely been as damaged as yours. We haven't seen it yet because we have an extremely generous government programs that are supporting people's wages in work, out of work, I should say, so that an employer can get 80% of the wages paid if he furloughs an employee, tells him to stay at home. And that means that, well, most public sector employees are at home, not working, but still being paid 100%. Mm-hmm. Many private sector workers are at home not being paid. There is a terrible unemployment blow coming when these programs are unraveled, I fear.
And yet there's no clamoring for an end to the lockdown.
Well, it turns out that it's easier to scare people than to unscare them.
That's right.
And our government did a very good job of terrifying people about this virus and saying, you must stay at home. And now it's not even trying very hard to say you must go back to work. It's saying, well, it's still dangerous out there, but if you really insist, you can perhaps go back to work as long as you're really careful. And I'm afraid that's not good enough. If we're going to get people to go back to work, most people are not following the details. They're just hearing there is something scary out there and we need to stay at home to shelter ourselves. And that seems, we've seen that with other scares in the past. The idea that something is dangerous lodges very quickly in the public mind. The idea that the all clear has come and that the danger is no longer there hardly gets a mention on page 5, and people don't hear it and don't believe it.